Did you know that during World War II, one of the most effective American units never fired a single shot in combat? Instead, their weapons were paintbrushes, speakers, and inflatable tanks. This is the incredible, one secret story of the Ghost Army, officially known as the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. This unique unit was comprised of over 1,000 artists, designers, sound engineers, and actors. Their mission? To deceive the German army on the battlefields of Europe through elaborate, large-scale illusions. They were masters of tactical deception, creating the appearance of massive troop movements where there were none, and concealing real operations by drawing enemy attention elsewhere. So, how did they pull it off? Their bag of tricks was straight out of a Hollywood movie set. First, they had visual deception. The unit included artists from prestigious schools, many of whom would later become famous. Like fashion designer Bill Blass and painter Ellsworth Kelly, they created hundreds of inflatable rubber tanks, cannons, jeeps, and airplanes. From a distance, especially from the air, these decoys were indistinguishable from the real thing. They would arrange them in convincing formations, even creating fake tire tracks to complete the illusion of a recently departed armored division. Then there was sonic deception. The Ghost Army sound engineers, recruited from top radio and recording studios, created a whole library of sound effects. They recorded the noises of armored and infantry units, from the clanking treads of tanks to the chatter of soldiers. They would then blast these recordings from powerful speakers mounted on trucks, sometimes audible up to 15 miles away. They could simulate the sound of an entire division moving into position overnight, convincing German intelligence that a major force was assembling. Imagine being a German soldier, hearing the rumble of thousands of troops, only for it all to be an elaborate audio play. Finally, they used what was called spoof radio. These were fake radio transmissions. Operators would mimic the communication styles of different divisions, sending out misleading messages about troop locations and plans. This created a web of false intelligence, confusing German eavesdroppers and leading them to miscalculate Allied intentions. To complete the deception, soldiers from the unit would often impersonate generals and officers in towns near the front lines. They'd drive around in jeeps, sit in cafes, and talk loudly about fake battle plans, knowing that local spies would overhear and report the misinformation back to the Germans. The Ghost Army conducted more than 20 battlefield deceptions, starting just after D-Day in Normandy and continuing across France, Luxembourg, Belgium, and Germany. Their operations were top secret, often known only to a handful of high-level commanders. They would arrive at a section of the front line, impersonate a unit that was 2 to 3 times their actual size, and then secretly slip away as the real unit moved in to attack an unsuspecting enemy. One of their most famous operations was Operation Virus in March 1945. The U.S. Ninth Army was preparing to cross the Rhine River, a formidable natural barrier. The Ghost Army was tasked with drawing German attention away from the actual crossing point. They set up their full array of inflatable tanks and played their sonic recordings, simulating 2 entire divisions. About 30,000 men, preparing for crossing miles away from the real location. The deception was so successful that it tricked the Germans into repositioning their defenses, allowing the Ninth Army to cross the Rhine with far fewer casualties. It's estimated that the actions of the Ghost Army saved thousands, perhaps even tens of thousands of Allied lives. The soldiers of the Ghost Army were in constant danger. While they weren't a traditional combat unit, they operated on or near the front lines. Their small size, just over 1,100 men, made them vulnerable if their deception was discovered. They were essentially a bluff, and if the enemy called it, they would have been easily overrun. They carried personal weapons and did suffer casualties, but their primary defense was their creativity and their ability to stay one step ahead of the enemy. After the war, the existence and operations of the Ghost Army remained classified for more than 40 years. The soldiers were sworn to secrecy, unable to tell their friends, families, or even their fellow veterans about their incredible contributions. They couldn't take credit for their bravery or their ingenious work. Many of the artists returned to civilian life, their wartime sketchbooks filled with hauntingly beautiful drawings of the European countryside, juxtaposed with the surreal images of inflatable tanks and the grim realities of war. The story was finally declassified in 1996, and slowly, the world began to learn about this remarkable unit. In recent years, there have been books, documentaries, and museum exhibits dedicated to their legacy. The surviving members, now in their late 90s or older, have finally been able to share their stories. In 2022, their long overdue recognition culminated in the unit being awarded the Congressional Gold Medal, one of the highest civilian honors in the United States. The legacy of the Ghost Army is a powerful testament to the idea that creativity and ingenuity can be as mighty as conventional weapons. They proved that sometimes the most effective way to win a battle is not through overwhelming force, but through cleverness and misdirection. They were artists who went to war and used their talent to fool the enemy, save lives, and help win the war. It's a story of courage, creativity, and sacrifice that had been hidden in the shadows for far too long. A reminder that heroes come in all forms, even as ghosts. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more incredible stories from history. We'll see you in the next one.